Okay, so you know how like we're always talking about those huge financial shifts after something big happens,
Uh-huh.
right? And we're always trying to like break down what it all means for everybody.
Right.
And well, you found something really interesting for us to check out this time.
Yeah, this is really cool. I think, we've got these news articles and then we've got this crazy Reddit thread.
Yeah.
And they're all talking about like the same thing, which is how all those billionaires who were at Trump's inauguration,
Right.
how they're all doing financially now.
Exactly. And we're talking like January 2025.
Yeah.
And like just weeks after, the whole thing.
Yeah.
All these like rumors started popping up and then all these headlines about how like all these people were losing a ton of money.
Right.
So like that's what we're going to dive into today.
Wow.
We're going to like really break down those numbers, like how much money are we even talking about?
Yeah.
And then we're going to try to figure out like what even happened? Like
Yeah.
why did this happen? And then, the big question, like what does this all mean
Exactly.
for like the rest of us,
Right.
So first things first, what are the actual numbers?
So right out of the gate, the numbers were pretty wild.
Okay.
A bunch of news sources were reporting a combined loss of like $209 to $210 billion
Whoa.
for all these, these big names who were at the inauguration.
Yeah.
And this was like in the weeks right after January 20th.
Okay.
And then one source even said like 333 billion total.
Oh, wow.
But they said about 210 billion of that was specifically since like the actual swearing in ceremony.
So $210 billion in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That's like almost impossible to even imagine.
It's a hard number to wrap your head around.
It is, yeah.
Especially because like leading up to this,
Yeah.
these people were doing really, really well.
Right. Weren't things like super good for them before this?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like just before the inauguration, the S&P 500 was at like an all-time high.
Yeah.
And there was this feeling like things were going to be good for businesses,
Right. Yeah. Everybody was excited about Trump coming back.
Exactly. A lot of people were thinking like, oh, yeah, Trump's back in office. He's going to make things good for us.
Right.
So, yeah, these weren't exactly like, struggling people before this happened.
No, not about
A lot of them were like at the absolute peak of their wealth.
Wow. Okay. So who are we talking about specifically?
Yeah.
Like who lost all this money?
So Bloomberg actually has this list called the Bloomberg Billionaires Index.
Oh, right.
And they had some pretty specific numbers.
Okay.
So Elon Musk seems like he had the biggest drop.
How much are we talking?
Something like $148 billion.
$148 billion.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And his net worth had peaked like mid-December at $486 billion.
Wow. And so this is like right after Tesla stock basically doubled after the election, right?
Yeah, that's right. It went way up and then it just like totally reversed course.
Wow. So that's like the biggest loser.
Yeah, seems like.
What about everybody else who was there? Like who else got hit?
Okay, so Jeff Bezos from Amazon.
Yeah.
He was down about $29 billion.
Okay.
Amazon stock fell like 14% since mid-January.
Ouch.
Yeah, and then Sergey Brin, one of the Google guys.
Right. One of the founders, right?
Yeah, he lost around $22 billion.
Jeez.
Alphabet stock dropped too in February.
So even Google took a hit.
Uh-huh.
What about Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, Zuckerberg was down about $5 billion,
Okay.
which, it's still a ton of money, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But Meta had actually gone up like 19% from mid-January to mid-February.
Oh, so he made money and then lost it.
Yeah, basically all those gains got wiped out.
Yikes.
And then even Bernard Arnault,
Who's that?
he's the head of LVMH.
What's LVMH?
Ah.
It's like this huge luxury goods company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he's actually been friends with Trump for a long time.
Really?
Yeah, but even he lost money like $5 billion.
Huh. So even Trump's buddies weren't immune.
Nope. Looks like nobody was safe.
Wow. And okay, so we've been talking about these individuals. Yeah.
But didn't the companies themselves like lose a ton of value too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like the combined market value of all the corporations connected to these people.
Yeah.
That took a huge hit.
Like how much are we talking?
About $1.39 trillion.
Trillion with a T.
Yeah, trillion with a T since January 17th.
Wow. So it wasn't just like a few billionaires losing some money.
No, this was like a major market event.
This was like the whole market freaking out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so we know like how much money was lost.
Right.
But the big question is like why?
Yeah, why did this happen?
Was it just like the whole market going down or was there something else going on?
So it seems like it was a bunch of different things all happening at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, like the overall market did go down. The S&P 500 fell about 6.4% after the inauguration.
Okay, so that probably didn't help.
No, definitely not.
But that doesn't explain why these guys specifically lost so much.
Right, and that's where the government comes in.
Yep.
So there was all this uncertainty about what Trump was going to do with, like, tariffs and stuff.
Oh, right. Tariffs are those taxes on imports, right?
Exactly, and that made a lot of investors nervous.
Why, though?
Well, because a lot of these companies, especially the tech companies and the luxury goods companies,
Yeah.
they rely on international trade.
Right.
So if Trump starts slapping tariffs on everything, it's going to hurt their profits.
Right. That makes sense.
So when there's that kind of uncertainty, investors tend to sell their stock.
Right. Get out while they can.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the big picture.
Yeah.
But what about each individual company? Like, were there specific problems that made things even worse?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, let's start with Tesla. Like, what was going on with them?
Well, their sales were way down, especially in other countries.
Like where?
Well, Germany was like a big one. Their sales there dropped over 70%.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then shipments to China were almost cut in half,
Wow.
which was the lowest they'd been since like mid-2022.
So things were not looking good.
No, not at all.
And wasn't there something about people boycotting Tesla because of Elon Musk?
Yeah, that's right. There was some talk about that on Reddit.
What were people saying?
Well, some people were saying that, like, Musk was getting too political
Okay.
and that it was turning people off from buying Teslas.
Oh, so like his personal beliefs were hurting his company.
That's the idea. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Like, can you really blame a company's problems on the CEO's opinions?
I mean, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Especially these days when everybody's so connected and everything is so public.
Right. People really care about that stuff now.
Yeah, and they vote with their wallets.
So it's not just about the product anymore.
Nope, it's about the whole package.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so what about Google? What was their deal?
So Alphabet missed their revenue projections for the quarter.
What does that mean?
It means they didn't make as much money as they thought they would.
Oh, okay.
Which is never good news for investors. And on top of that, they were also having problems with the Justice Department.
Oh, right. The government was trying to break them up, right?
Yeah, they were saying that Google had too much power.
Because they control like all the search results.
Yeah, basically.
And all the ads that go with them.
Exactly. And that kind of scrutiny can really scare off investors.
Because they don't know what's going to happen to the company.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if Google gets split into a bunch of smaller companies?
Right. Who knows what that would do to their stock price?
Yeah, it's a big unknown.
Okay, so that's Google.
Uh-huh.
Now, what about that LVMH company, the luxury goods one?
Oh, yeah, LVMH.
We talked about the tariffs, but was there anything else going on with them?
So, yeah, the tariffs were a big problem.
Because they sell a lot of stuff from Europe, right?
Exactly. And those tariffs were going to be like 10 to 20%.
Ouch.
Yeah, and analysts were saying that could really hurt their sales.
But weren't their sales already slowing down before the tariffs?
Yeah, that's right. They were already having some trouble even without the tariffs. Yeah, it seems like the luxury market was cooling off a bit.
Okay, so that's LVMH. What about Amazon? Did they have any specific problems?
You know, it's weird. The sources didn't really say anything specific about Amazon.
Really?
Yeah, they just talked about the stock price going down.
Huh. Maybe they were just caught up in the general market panic.
Yeah, maybe it was just a case of guilt by association.
Right, like they were just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the market and the companies themselves.
Right.
But what about Trump? Like, did he do anything to make things worse?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, he started firing a bunch of government workers.
Oh, yeah, mass layoffs, right?
Yeah, and that kind of sent a shock through the market.
Because it made people think that the economy was in trouble.
Exactly.
And then there was that whole thing with him buying a Tesla.
Oh, yeah, that was weird.
Right, it was like he was trying to help Elon Musk.
Yeah, like he was trying to show his support.
But it didn't really work, did it?
Well, no, because Tesla stock had already tanked by then.
Right.
So it kind of looked desperate.
Like he was trying to prop up a sinking ship.
Exactly.
And then didn't he also blame Tesla's problems on like a boycott or something?
Yeah, he said it was all the fault of radical left lunatics.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but the financial analysts were saying it was because Tesla wasn't meeting its production targets.
Right.
And because of those tariffs.
So basically, Trump was just making excuses.
Pretty much.
And that probably didn't help investor confidence.
No, definitely not.
Okay, so that's the Trump side of things.
Right.
Now, what about that Reddit thread you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, that was wild.
What were people saying on there?
Well, a lot of them are pretty happy about all this.
Really?
Yeah, they were like, oh, good, it's about time those billionaires lost some money.
Wow.
Yeah, and some of them were even saying, like, not enough, they need to lose more.
So they were basically celebrating.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is on that subreddit called r boycott United States, right? So obviously those people aren't big fans of Trump.
Nope.
And they weren't too sympathetic to his billionaire buddies either.
Not at all.
So besides just like gloating, were there any other interesting theories on Reddit about what happened?
Yeah, actually, there were a few.
Okay, like what?
Well, one user thought maybe Trump was manipulating the market.
What do you mean?
Like maybe he was intentionally trying to tank the market.
On purpose?
Yeah, for some kind of strategic advantage.
Wow, that's a pretty serious accusation.
It is, yeah.
And is there any evidence to support that?
Not really. It's just speculation at this point.
Right.
But it shows you how much distrust there is out there.
Yeah, people are looking for any explanation.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's one theory. What were some of the others?
Well, another user thought maybe Trump was just making bad economic decisions.
That he just didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so incompetence versus conspiracy.
Pretty much.
Those are two very different explanations.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about why these billionaires might have lost money,
Right.
but were there any other, like, interesting perspectives on the whole thing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, a lot of people on Reddit were pointing out that these are just paper losses.
What does that mean?
It means that the value of their stocks went down,
Right.
but they didn't actually lose any real money.
Unless they sold the stock.
Right. Exactly.
So they could just hold on to it and wait for it to go back up.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of people think they're doing.
So they're just riding out the storm.
Yeah, basically.
And some people even think they're using this opportunity to buy more stock.
Right, because now the prices are lower.
So they could actually come out of this richer than before.
Yeah, that's the theory.
Wow. That's kind of messed up.
It is, yeah.
Like the rich get richer even when they lose money.
Yeah, that's the system we live in.
Okay. But wasn't there also some pushback against that idea?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, some people were saying that even if it makes financial sense, it's still a really bad look for these billionaires.
Because it just makes them seem even more out of touch.
Exactly. Like, people are struggling to pay their bills, and these guys are just buying up more assets.
It's a bad luck.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so besides the whole buy the dip thing,
Right.
were there any other, like, big takeaways from the Reddit discussion?
Well, a lot of people were talking about how even losing billions of dollars,
Yeah.
it doesn't really affect these people's lives.
Because they're so rich?
Exactly. Like, they can still afford to buy whatever they want and go wherever they want.
So it's not like they're suddenly poor.
Nope, not even close.
It's just a drop in the bucket for them.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, and then there was also that idea that some of them might have shorted the market.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Could you explain what that means?
So shorting the market basically means betting that the price of something is going to go down.
Okay.
So if you think a stock is going to lose value,
Yeah.
you can actually make money from that. Yeah. It's kind of complicated, but that's the basic idea.
So some of these billionaires might have actually profited from this whole thing.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Wow. So they might have lost money on paper,
Yeah.
but actually made money in real life.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Okay, so that's shorting the market.
Right.
What else was there?
Well, a lot of people were also talking about how the system is rigged in favor of the rich.
What do you mean?
I mean, that the rules are set up in a way that protects the wealthy from losing too much.
Even when things go bad.
Yeah, basically.
So they always come out on top.
Pretty much.
Okay, so we've talked about the financial stuff.
Right.
But what about the political and social implications of all this?
Yeah, that's the other big piece of this puzzle.
Right, like what does this all mean for the rest of us?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so first of all, that Reddit thread we were talking about,
Yeah,
it was on our boycott United States,
right.
which obviously tells you something about the people who are commenting.
Yeah, they're not exactly Trump's biggest fans.
No, not at all.
And a lot of them were pretty happy to see these billionaires lose money.
Like they felt like it was some kind of justice.
Yeah, pretty much.
And some of them even wanted them to lose more.
Yeah, they were like, this isn't enough.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense.
So there's definitely a lot of anger and resentment out there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it's not just in the U.S., right?
Nope, it's global.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, there was this one commenter from Australia,
Yeah.
and they were saying that Trump is super unpopular over there.
Really?
Yeah, and they were worried that what's happening in the U.S.
Yeah.
is going to spill over into their country.
Like politically?
Yeah, they even talked about boycotting American products.
Wow, so it was like a whole international movement.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Okay, so besides the boycotts,
Yeah.
what other social or political stuff came up?
Well, a lot of people were worried about the rich getting even richer.
Because of this whole buy the dip thing?
Exactly. Like they're using this crisis to consolidate their power and widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots.
So it's like the opposite of trickle-down economics?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then there was also that comment about how supporting Trump means you don't care about your customers.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting.
Right, like it's a sign that you're out of touch.
Exactly.
So basically, your political beliefs can affect your business.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so that's a lot to unpack.
It is, yeah.
But if we had to sum it all up, what would you say are the key takeaways from this whole deep dive?
Okay, so I think the main thing is that this group of billionaires, they definitely took a hit financially after Trump's inauguration.
Right, like we're talking billions of dollars.
Yeah, billions with a B.
But it wasn't just because of Trump, right?
No, it was a combination of things.
Like what?
Well, the market was already going down.
Right.
And then there was all the uncertainty about Trump's policies.
Especially the tariffs.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on top of that, some of these companies were just having their own problems.
Right, like Tesla with their sales and Google with the Justice Department.
Right, so it was like a perfect storm.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then on top of all that, you have the public reaction.
Right.
Which is a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, some people are happy about it. Some people are worried about it.
And some people think it's all just a big game.
Exactly.
And that these billionaires are going to come out of this even richer.
It's definitely possible.
So it's a really complicated situation.
It is, yeah.
With no easy answers.
Nope.
But I think we did a pretty good job of breaking it all down.
I think so, too.
So yeah, if you're listening to this,
Yeah.
think about this the next time you hear about some big financial event.
Right.
Because there's always more to the story than meets the eye.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the people who seem like they're losing
Yeah.
are actually winning.
That's the crazy part.
It is crazy, right?
It is.
But that's the world we live in.
It is.
So yeah, that's all for today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
It was fun.
It was.